Welcome back to the Main Event Podcast, episode 4. I'm Colton Gibson, your host today, and I've got these fine young gentlemen here.
BJ. Cameron.
So, we are rolling around the corner now to May. It's what is today? I don't even know what today is. May
6.
7th.
7th.
So, really not a whole lot as far as deer going on, because usually I don't get, I gotta work on food plots this weekend. So I plan on bush hogging my clover plots, fertilizing, and that's another thing. Deer grow, I ordered deer grow. Ordered 2 things of 31818 and plot till. I only received 1 31818 and plot till, so I'm missing a 31818. So I'm kind of ticked about that, which I'm sure is probably a UPS problem. We'll figure that out. But it's pretty much deer-wise, there's not a whole lot going on because right now they're just not in.
No, they're just now bulbing up. You
Yeah.
don't even know what deer you got.
Yeah, so I don't usually start getting excited till June. Because they'll start putting on their beams. And that's when it's like,
G2.
yeah, that's when you're like, okay, what deer is this?
Yeah.
So, but I'm excited to get out there and start working on food plots. I love doing that stuff. That's my favorite thing.
I've been talking about doing it for years.
You need to do it.
And
Oh yeah, I've got a little one in our 5-acre patch of woods. And
Well-
seen all that clover in it, which I gotta mow it down. It's probably waist high at this point, but I wouldn't say waist high.
Yeah, Doug
But
Clover.
It's definitely,
yeah,
well, it's got clover and I
weeds.
did not spray it as soon as I needed to. With all this rain that we've had, it's really shot up.
Yeah, I haven't mowed any of my stuff this year, so I'm kind of excited to see that. Because usually, I've noticed after you give it one good mowing, the first good mowing and some decent rain, man, especially if you can get rid of some of those weeds and stuff,
Yeah.
really makes a big difference on the clover. But if you ever get into it, it's more of a satisfaction of the fact that I don't want to say like a green thumb type thing, like, oh, I grew that.
But you've put something out there and the deer are actually attracted to it. You've got
Yeah.
deer coming and
It's more of a satisfaction of
Yeah.
the fact that you put in that to get deer to come in.
it's just rewarding.
Yeah, especially just getting pictures on. I get excited just seeing a bunch of deer on my clover plot. I don't even care if it's a buck or anything. I mean, I do care about that, but like seeing a bunch of deer on
But
my
that's-
clover,
yeah.
it's like just a satisfaction of like they're using it because I did that.
I didn't do it for nothing.
Yeah, that too.
I put all this hard work and heart into it and
While
reaping what you sowed now.
I mean, yeah. While we're in this, I want to talk about this for a minute because we touched on this. I think it was the first episode.
That didn't get posted? They got deleted?
I think
Okay. So it's been a while.
the corn and
Oh. Yeah, it's the first one.
the corn and food plot debate.
Is
So
it
that-
the same thing or?
Well, that in general. So you get the debate of there's no difference in corn, putting out a pile of corn, versus planting a food plot.
That's the debate.
I
There's no
want-
difference.
I want-
or-
Yeah, I want PJ to answer this because he's a
Okay.
corn guy.
I'm
He's
a
It's
big
corn.
guy. Alright. There is a difference. Especially in nutritional factor for the deer.
I think that's number one.
That's the big thing because corn is not a nutrition thing for them. It's a sweet treat for them.
Just fills their stomach up.
Which is crazy because from everything I've seen, acorns also aren't really a big nutritional factor for them. It's more almost like how corn is.
It's a
But
delicacy.
they
type
love
thing.
it.
the reason.
And for the hunting purposes of it is, I mean, they're not gonna be on corn, all the time. They're gonna go from that, and the white oaks will start
No,
cropping.
they'll actually have nutrition. They'll reach
But-
the nutritional.
A lot of times they're gonna pick, especially when beans are green.
Yeah, those
You're
are
gonna get those, but I can see the argument over hunting over corn and the actual food plot.
Mhm. Well, see, the number one. So the reason they do like acorns, it's kind of like a timely thing. So like they'll hit acorns for one. It's a treat, but two, they need it for storage for the winter and the rut.
to put on fat.
Yeah, to put on fat. And so that's why you see like the bumper crops of acorns. You'll find bucks. Like if you kill a buck in November, you'll tend to find them to be a little bit fatter than.
Thicker up.
Yeah, they'll
That and the rut,
Yeah.
they'll really be thick, and then they'll run it all off during the rut.
So that's one of the reasons why acorns are such a big thing for deer. Because, I mean, not only you're getting them through the winter with that, but it's also a rut thing. But the corn debate, it's kind of touchy because from the start, I would say I'm against it. But, and this is, I'm going to state this right now, every one of us have corn piles.
Oh yeah.
So this is kind of hypocritical. But I'm going to start with this. If you don't bait and you're, like we're in Kentucky, if you don't bait,
Your neighbors are.
You're
Your
missing
neighbors
out.
and you're missing out. And that's the problem with why there's such a big divide there. Because we're forced to bait because our neighbors are.
They're forced bait because we are.
Not really.
But that's the mentality.
Yeah,
We're
yeah.
the neighbor.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. But the problem with baiting is, one, it's nutritionally, it's just not good for them. I mean, and I understand people plant corn fields to hunt over, but there's only a substantial amount of corn that they really need. So I'm not going to use that debate against the fact of deer, or against hunting nutrition value. Now, I will say that food plots are by far way more higher in nutrition than corn. So that's
Yes.
one debate you can use.
Yeah.
Number two is the fact that it's just it kind of goes against the nature of how deer move.
Adding corn into their,
Yeah, like putting a bait pile.
putting a bait pile out there.
Aside from that, you have people like me that try to manage the land to get the deer to do what you want them to do. You know what I'm saying? So like Mark Drury, if you watch any of his hunting videos, all of his farms and stuff are laid out perfectly to the way that he wants the deer to come out and move.
Where they want to bed,
Yeah.
where he wants them to bed,
And
where he wants them to feed to, and where he
Yeah.
wants them to go back in bed.
But it's much harder than just putting a pile of corn out. And it's still not 100%. And
No.
neither is corn.
But you always have corn there, and they know that the corn's there.
Yeah.
So they know they can always rely on it for a food source.
So it's, and the biggest, I think the biggest problem, of all of it is the fact that the barrier of entry. So like food plots, you've got to have some sort of machinery, and you can scrap it as cheap as you can go. Clover is probably the cheapest crop you can plant.
But they have, these companies are coming out with these no-till
Yeah.
blends that are a mixture of.
The problem, here's the thing though, that a lot of those companies also will gyp you, so they'll put like ryegrass in it,
Yes.
which is nothing that the deer will
Well,
eat.
they'll throw in filler seeds. They'll advertise clover, or I'm just using clover as an example. Usually the clover is usually just strictly
Yeah,
variants of clover. But say
turnips. The biggest
Yeah.
thing's like a turnips.
Yeah. And brassicas and everything, or however you say it, it'll have a bunch of filler seeds.
But here's the thing, it won't be a bunch. It'll be like 70% ryegrass and like 30% of brassicas and
Yeah.
turnips,
Yeah.
which is awful.
You're paying for one thing, you're getting mostly another.
Yeah.
That's why you gotta turn around and look at the label, see what
Yeah.
you're actually getting.
That's
Making
why
sure you're not getting gypped.
there's companies out there like Big Time, or heck, you can go to your just mom and pop feed stores and buy things of turnips for way cheaper than you can buy the Deere branded.
Like Royal King, I guess it was like 3 years ago. All I bought was a bag of turnips.
Purple top
Tur-
turnips.
purple turnips, and it was flip it over. There was some filler in it, but it was like 80% turnips.
Yeah.
And it was $4 a bag.
Versus 25, 30.
Yeah, it wasn't no big food plot company. It was just a bag of turnips, and it was like up to 1/16 of an acre.
But that would be the only argument against food plots and corn is the barrier of entry. But at the same time, like you said, there is ways of doing it without spending a daggone bag on corn. Because let's be honest here, you can spend a lot of money putting corn out.
There for a while, corn was up like $14 a bag where we were, $13 a
Well,
bag.
heck, it's still $10, $11 a bag at TSC.
Yeah,
And
but during COVID, it just seemed like it shot.
Oh,
up.
yeah. So, I mean, and let's be honest here, you put 200 pounds of corn out, it's gone in a couple of
Hey,
days.
you gotta put out 200 pounds of corn a week.
At least.
Yeah, depending on your farm, of course. Depending on your deer population.
Yeah. Like, well, our farm, 200 pounds of corn went 4 days.
Yeah. At that point, you're better off just going to the feed mill and buying bulk.
We bought, I think they were 75-pound bags, and we filled the bed of the truck up with them. So we bought like 21 bags, something like that. And that was gone in 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks on our farm.
Yep.
And it was, you can average that up, I don't know how many pounds it is, but an absolute load.
Yeah, and that's not 2 weeks, ain't nothing
No.
comparative to deer season.
No,
You know what I mean?
Yep.
it's 4 months.
Yeah.
So you say you start in August and you buy, 1,000 pounds of corn.
You'll go through it within the month, if not.
I bet I could go through. I bet I could go through 2,000 pounds easily.
1,575 pounds in like 2.5 weeks.
There you go. So you multiply that. I mean, I don't know what a pallet of corn is, but you put that amount of money into food plots.
Food plots you'd have a hellacious food plot if
Now,
you put
What
that
do
amount
you
of
do
money
to
into
keep
it.
them? What do you do to keep them out of it until it actually?
Well, like clover, you don't really have to worry about.
Like turnips, say, so they don't.
Turnips.
So you can get them fully grown.
Turnips you don't have to either, really.
Turnips. So the problem with turnips is they like to eat the tops of them whenever they're young.
Yeah, and then they'll dig up the bulbs whenever it gets good and cold out,
Yeah.
and take the bitterness out of them.
Yeah. That's a myth.
Well, you ever had a sweet turnip?
Yeah.
You ever had a bitter turnip?
I can't say I have.
Oh, I have. Freaking
It's probably
nasty.
just immature. There is a study out there about that, but we ain't getting off topic. What were we talking about? Oh, keeping the deer off turnips. So I will say that I have had problems of deer eating the tops of my turnips. And if they eat the tops of the turnips too quickly, it will kill the turnip.
Yeah.
So that is a problem. But if you plant, that's another thing. I want them to eat it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
They're there to eat that tender grass or that tender top of that turnip for a reason. because it's tender.
It's
You know.
just like them eating the tops of the beans
Yeah. But
all summer long.
but say you have yours. When do you plant turnips?
So I have specifically learned, do not go off of the bag as far as
You hit a drought come August, like
in
when it says
September.
the planet, and you won't have no water to them.
So you plant June,
No,
July.
late September.
Yeah, later.
Okay.
Because for whatever reason, there has been a very common time of early September we go through droughts.
Yeah, it's like
So wait till like that the 20th of September.
the last week or two.
Of September.
Instead of the last week or two of August, first week or two of September.
So you just use clover to hunt off of until.
I use
Clover's a pre-annual.
Yeah,
I know
It'll
that.
last.
I know that. I'm just saying, like, 'cause
But it's
I see
good.
a lot of people with food plots. You know, as soon as hunting season starts, their food plots are ready. You know, good to go. And some people use fences, but I'm like, how do you deer? Out with
deer are
the
very timid and stuff to new things.
Well,
so
like they
so
put
they-
up reflective stuff
Yeah.
and everything. Stuff that if the wind blows, it'll throw off reflective.
especially if it's new. So like
Reflection.
if I planted beans in my food plot like I'm about to do, I can plant beans and then throw a couple of tobacco sticks up with pie plates up. All I need is those soybeans to go for about a month.
It's like that guy was saying at the NWTF, what, 3 weeks, 4 weeks in, as long as they make it past that, they don't eat past that first leaf
Yeah.
that comes on, it'll be fine. It'll come back. But if they eat past that first little branch leaf, it won't come back.
So, and that's the thing about deer, that they'll get used to it eventually, like the pie plates, or if you just put up a cheap fence, nothing electric, anything like that. They'll get used to it eventually, and then they'll hop that fence and realize
Yeah.
it's okay.
Yeah.
But as long as I can get it through that first 3 or 4 weeks with some timely rains and fertilize, you'll be fine.
Just gotta get past that point of plant life where it will come back if it gets ate on.
And turnips, I've learned that if you're planting turnips and they eat all your turnips before they become turnips, then you've got too many deer or you ain't planting enough. And that's the whole big thing about food plots. It's a really good measure on how many deer you got. If you've
How
got
big
a
of
decent
food plot you ought
Yeah.
to have.
yeah. So if you've got a decently sized food plot and it's staying like my clover staying trimmed down, that means I probably need to kill some does. And I know for a fact I need to kill does.
Yeah.
So and I'm not saying that people that plant food plots are any better than people putting corn out. But I think it more connects you to the fact of the actual hunt itself.
Well, also in a food plot, they're not going to one certain spot in that food plot to eat at every time. They're going to that corn pile every time, so you've got to stay in 30 yards. They'll be in 30 yards of range every time.
How far is the first corner of your food plot from you?
Depends on where I sit at, but north wind wise, the furthest point, probably 75 yards.
How far can you shoot?
Accurately, probably 50.
At a live target, probably 50.
Yeah.
We see how he is out here in the,
Yeah.
in the
I can
dark.
shoot a target at 80 yards, but I can
But
shoot
then you
a
gotta
deer.
throw in that factor, that human factor of error, whenever you got
Yeah.
that adrenaline pumping through you, and the deer either ducking the arrow.
That's the difference in corn and clover. I'm still gonna hunt over corn as long as they allow it, because I know my neighbors are.
Yep.
So I know this is hypocritical, and I'm not hounding anybody.
It's a tool in the belt. You might as
Yeah.
well use it.
But if there was an argument for it, and there is an argument for it today, that would be the argument I would make. And like I said, it connects you more to it. It's more of a pride thing. Like, I did that. I've got this deer in my food plot.
And then you kill that deer over the food plot that you.
Yeah, and so
it's more rewarding.
Yeah, it's way more rewarding in my thoughts.
Well, it's just like you killed a main event.
Well, that and I killed that other deer last year. I might not have killed him over a food plot,
But he was on his way.
but well, the reason why I think that there's different ways of rewarding that, and I'm not saying my kill is any better than so and so's killing it over a corn pile, but until you do it, you won't understand. You know what I'm saying? So like I killed that deer last year. I didn't kill him over a food plot, but I killed him in a spot where I thought a deer might be. I was trying to outsmart and think of how a deer would be. I was trying to use my woodsmanship, which is dying today. Nobody reads sign or topography or anything like that to try to kill deer. It's let's throw a corn pile out and sit on it.
Maybe
There's
we'll
no
get lucky.
sign of any deer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just bring the deer to it, you know. But that's why I'm kind of there's an art there. That's why I think there's an argument today for it. And until you do those things, you won't understand it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's not a shot at anybody.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to like belittle people
No.
for hunting over corn.
No, I
There's a
understand.
reason why it's legal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a touchy argument.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Because you got people that are against it and for it, and people that don't care.
Yeah.
You know. But I mean, if that's your way of hunting, who am I to tell you it's wrong?
Right.
If it's legal and ethical.
And I heard this the other day, and I'm kind of on the fence for it. So they were talking about the main argument for corn piles are because the small parcels. So like so and so has 5 acres he can hunt on,
And his neighbor's got 180.
and his neighbor's got 180. Well, his neighbor's got 2 food plots. Well, this guy wants to deer hunt, and he's only got 5 acres he can hunt on. So he throws a corn pile out. My argument to that is, and this is the touchy part, is the fact that if you don't have the deer to hunt on that piece, then you probably shouldn't be hunting it. The reason we are hunting is for conservation.
Well, some people are hunting for food. You know.
I mean, I get that. But there is a very slim margin of people that are actually going out there to hunt for food. They can claim they're hunting for food.
Yeah.
But
you
until
must-
the day comes where they shoot all of the does that they see first, instead of letting those does go by and shoot the first antlered buck, because they do it. And then they claim they shot a 1.5-year-old deer for meat, and it's like, well, why didn't you shoot those 4 does that you let walk by?
Yeah. I understand that.
What if you ain't got the deer on your property? Say you buy this piece of property and throw a camera up on a trail that you think deer are using. Turns out to be a coon trail. Well, so you put a pile of corn out, and then you start getting a doe once a week, and you start getting more does. 180-inch deer shows up. I mean, you're gonna be mad at the guy for waiting on a 180-inch deer to walk in front
I'll
of
be
him.
mad at the guy if he said he was hunting for meat and he had 4 does on a corn pile 3 nights in a row that he could have shot, but he shot the 180-inch deer.
2 with 1 bullet.
You know what I'm saying, though?
Or if y'all
Yeah,
went
I mean,
around.
I understand that. But we get 4 tags here in the state of Kentucky. So,
Are you gonna be mad at the guy if he has a 2.5-year-old 100-inch deer show up on camera? He's got 6 does on the corn pile every night, but that 2-year-old only shows up 2 or 3 times a week. And he doesn't shoot a doe, but he claims he's hunting for meat. And then he shoots the 2-year-old. But he's hunting for meat.
You understand?
And then he
Yeah.
doesn't hunt. Then he doesn't hunt for the rest of the season.
I mean, I understand that.
Yeah.
Filled his freezer. Don't need no more does.
Yeah, I filled his freezer. If he was hunting for me, then he needs to kill more than one deer.
I understand.
Well, if it's just by himself, just himself with him.
I could go
100
through,
he
I
killed
could go
100.
if I was in need of meat, I could go through a 2-year-old buck in a pretty quick amount of time. Especially if I knew I had 3 tags left in my back pocket.
Yep.
That's why I think the argument of meat hunting is very slim.
Yeah, I mean, I get that.
And the whole argument I have for that is because you put a corn pile out on your 5 acres. You've done nothing to the land. You didn't try to improve the habitat. You didn't try putting a half-acre food plot in.
Well, how about he just has 5 acres of land on a hillside, and he's got a bench running across it, and he can't put just a sliver of a bench, overgrowth over his head, no sunlight hitting the ground, you know. So he throws a corn pile out just to get the deer to stop on that trail or to use that trail more, that bench more.
Our biggest problem on our food plot, and why we haven't done it yet, is because you get a lot of undergrowth on the like edges of the swamp, but once you get in there, it's all just open with trees, and that's the only place you can put it because the fields they use for
Crop.
hay
Oh,
and
hay.
crop. So you got your hay fields and you have your crops. So we can't just.
Yeah, I get
But-
that.
You were to talk them into letting you plant like a 2-acre clover field.
It won't just be me and Lando.
You know what I'm saying, though?
Yeah.
And they could cut the clover for hay.
Yeah, just add it to the hayfield. Just be like, hey, we're gonna carve out an acre, and we're gonna plant clover in that acre. It's not gonna hurt the.
Not
Hurt
one
cows.
cattle.
Nah.
Cause are they planting? Is it just orchard grass, or is it just? Are they growing alfalfa, or what are they growing for hay?
Orchard grass.
It's probably
Orchard grass. So it's already got clover mixed in with it most of the time anyway. So that little denser spot in the field ain't gonna hurt.
Yeah.
I would talk to Lando. We've been wanting to do it. We've been talking about it for years. He's been wanting to do it in the swamp. And I say swamp, it ain't really a swamp. Ain't really a full-on
Is it
swamp.
in the woods?
Yeah,
You good luck getting anything.
grow.
It's gotta have sun.
Which I mean, there's mixes out there for
90% of them are ryegrass, though.
yeah.
That's why I hate those. It's no-till.
Well,
It's
there are some good
shade.
ones. There are some good ones in there that, but you just gotta watch out for snake oil salesmen. You know.
Yep.
We'll figure it out, and I'll let y'all know if we get started on it.
Back to the argument. We're conservationists. The whole reason you should be hunting is so that you have a hunt for tomorrow. So if there is not enough deer to be that are even using your property, then maybe you shouldn't be hunting that property. Just like killing a turkey on our farm.
But what if that's the only thing you have available to you? You've looked out. You've went and asked for permission and everything.
There's public land.
But then you run into
I'll let
you go
Chelsea
and
shoot
be
a doe.
shoulder
I'll
for
put
shoulder.
one. I'll let Chelsea shoot a doe.
How do other states do it? Because there's states that don't bait. Indiana, Illinois, Iowa.
I guess they just don't hunt then. If
I'll
they can't,
I'll
or they
grow.
don't try it.
grow.
Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania's got one of the largest amount of hunters in the United States. 690-something thousand people, and there's no baiting. Other people do it. That's my
I'm
argument.
not making an argument for
I'm
I'm just
know.
saying I understand why people use it.
I do too, but at the same time, the argument can be thrown back at it.
Oh
That's what
yeah.
I'm saying.
Oh yeah. I have 2.5 acres. I throw a quarter pile out a pond in the camera and see what comes up.
I mean, yeah.
But there's 46 acres of like Woodbury City property that
Right.
nobody hunts or anything
Behind,
else. And I'm just like, I want to see what comes up, because if whatever's in there, if it comes up to my property, I'm hunting it.
Right. And
On my property.
You can.
Yeah, on my property. And we have a farm beside us, and they hunt, and they butt up to that property as well. But
Yeah.
I'll be the first guy to say, if I put corn out, because usually I did for Chelsea last year, I said if anything comes up, shoot off the back porch.
Oh, yeah.
But there's a spike, and she
Yeah,
wanted
shoot off
to
the
kill that spike. And I was like, no, you're not killing the daggone spike. You're not doing it. Let him grow. Maybe he'll come back in 2-3 years, and he'll be a big buck, and then we can figure out how to kill him. But
Right.
Some people may say he'll stay spiked forever.
That's another argument.
if he's a 2-point, when he first starts off, he'll always be 2-point.
No, it's 11 point.
There is genetic. All right, let's make this an argument. There is genetic inferior deer that do have.
That will
Oh,
never.
yeah.
Yeah, that will
But
never
there's.
amount.
I don't think I have ever. There's only been on TikTok. There's only been like 2 or 3 posts that I've seen that deer were actual spikes and they were mature deer.
So,
I've never seen a 2-year-old, 3-year-old, or a 4-year-old in person that was a pure spike.
one on camera like
I've had 2 deer for the past 3 years now. I mean, they were yearlings 3 years ago, spikes. And last year, one of them had like spikes still, but it had more mass, and he had like a brow tine and a G2 is pretty much what I would say. But it went straight up. And then the other one that was with him, he pretty much did the same, but he curved out a little bit, and he was still a spike. He never grew any G2s. And then this past year, they both blew up. And
How
the
do
one-
you know they're the same deer?
I can just tell by, I can just tell by pictures because they were bigger than yearlings. They were bigger than yearlings. I have to go back and find pictures for the past 2 years.
I want to know how you knew a spike to a 2-year-old.
Well, okay, so
Unless
like,
they
they weren't the one that went straight up. They were both kind of messed up. One of them had like a turkey foot spike. That's kind of where I got the other one that went straight up. But the other one he did sweep, and then this past year he sweeped even more and had a little bit of G2 and a little bit of the brow tine. And the other one, he still kind of grew straight up and started coming out a little bit. But they ran together for the past 3 years.
I can usually do pretty good calling my bucks, so not from a spike.
But
I'll be
but
honest.
they weren't.
2-year-olds I can keep up with.
I'll
next year,
have to
3-year-olds.
I'll have to find that.
Especially that one. That's
2-year-old to 3-year-old.
that one. That was. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And him. Yeah, he's easy to keep up with. I can tell you him from year 2, 3.
Well, 2 to 3 is really hard sometimes unless they're a very characteristic deer.
That's the only.
Like Rome, I could always tell him just because he's always got that one straight side. His brow tines are awesome, and the other side was somewhat normal. I could tell from 2 to 3 to 4 what deer it was.
Mhm.
But some deer, they'll go from like a 6-point at 2-year-old to an 8 or a 10 at 3.
Yeah.
And the only thing you can go off of is their brow tines or G2s.
That's usually how I.
Or
think
their
at it.
frame.
If they're real typical, very symmetrical, it's harder. So you have multiple.
Yeah, like you'll have a bunch of 8 points running around.
But a lot of times, most of the times, I can usually tell, which one he was last year based off. Especially because we only have there's only gonna be so many bucks. And if you have it in September, and you had 8 bucks, September last year, and then next year you come and you have 10 bucks, say you can look at it like, okay, well he's only about a 3-year-old, give or take. And you look back at the pictures, you can pick, okay, yeah, he's got that brow tine that's.
I don't know how
good.
some people do it. Like Mark Drury, I was listening to a podcast with him on it, and he was talking about he goes on a computer and downloads like pictures of his deer every year, like the buck pictures,
Mm-hmm.
and puts them in files. Different files, different names of each deer throughout the year, and like keeps up with them year after year after year. And I'm like, I don't even know how you.
I'm not that good.
One, you've got to have a lot of pictures or a lot of places to hunt. And two, you've got to have a lot of cameras and pictures of them.
Know that deer's coming from. Track that deer.
Yeah.
Cameras on trails.
Well, like he wasn't keeping up. Like I'm sure he was keeping up with where it was at, but he was keeping up with the deer like from 2 to 3 to 4 to 5. I think he said he wasn't keeping up with them at 2. He said he started noticing at 3. He started keeping up with deer at 3, 4, and 5, and then 6.
I guess you said deer to 3.
Because usually
you kind of
3.
pick up
Yeah.
from 3 to 4.
Yeah,
Because only certain times I can pick up from 2 to 3.
yeah. 2 to 3 is hard.
Yeah, but I can see from 3 to 5 because I can look at one of last year's bucks. I can pick him up. He's probably a 4-year-old deer from the year before last. But that's just because he was the only buck that we had at 3 years old that was real wide. And next year you see him again, he's still the only buck, but he's bigger, a little more
Yeah.
mass. That's still really wide. I'm like, okay, that's
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. Like someday, I don't know how, because I'll have like 8 points at 2 and 3, and it's like I've got 3 8 points, which of course they're all different in their own way. But like that next year, that 8 point changes to a 10, and he's got something a little bit different. But you have to almost like sit there and look at the sheds or your pictures and swap back and look back at the pictures and then swap back, and it's like, I guess it's the same deer. It's got the same frame. His G2s are a little bit different. His brow tines look, you know what I'm saying? I don't know how you do that on multiple bucks.
no. I don't,
You know what I'm saying?
especially if you have multiple farms.
Yeah. That's what's
A lot of
insane.
time on a chance.
Yeah, yeah. But which I think genetics and all that kind of stuff is just kind of neat, and the whole growing from 4 and 5 and 6, how they change and differ year to year to year, and how much they blow up.
I would love to be able to like see a buck almost like main event and see him from like watching from like 5, 6, and 7 and see if that year 7, like what we were talking about at one time, really does make a difference and watch multiple bucks do it.
I think it's a genetic, so a lot of things go into that. Genetic, pressure, and food. And food and nutrition.
So if you have the point, pretty much if you set your farm up right, you could have a bigger buck depending on genetics by year 7 than year 6.
Theoretically. Because that's like the Texas, a lot of your Texas ranches and stuff, they try to kill their deer at 6, 7, and 8 years old. Because that's like their genetic potential.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean the same here.
Well, I know the Texas deer are a subspecies, a different subspecies, but theoretically,
Yeah.
I can see it because I was starting to see a trend on, Mark Drury, Lee Lukowski, and all of them. There's a couple more, big names out there. They're targeting 6 and 7-year-old deer. Used to is 5 and 6. Now let's target the 6 and 7-year-old deer. So, I don't know. But I'm not the one going to tell you to target a 6 or a 7-year-old deer because it's hard enough to get a deer to 4 here around here.
Yeah, I'm sorry if I see a deer. If my buck was real good at 4, and then he's 5, and he's even bigger. If he just shoot at 4, and he lives to 5, and I got a picture of him, I can kill him at 5. He's gonna be.
Well, I was listening to it was TikTok. It was, Tony Washnock
I've heard it.
on TikTok. You might as well just quit looking for that deer. He ain't ever gonna find it.
I've got 4 different cameras that I'm scrolling through.
He was talking about how I think he had like 180 acres, 120 acres. I can't remember. Might have been 200 acres. But he had 3 trophy class deer, 5-year-old deer, on these farms in Illinois. And I'm like, dude, I don't know what I would do if I had 3.
And he was letting you grow to 6.
No, they were hunting them,
Oh, okay.
which I can't. I would 5-year-old deer all day long. I'll be crazy here to let a 5-year-old deer walk.
You do, doesn't mean you're never want
My neighbor will not. Neighbors.
Papa.
But would I like to have that? Yeah. Which we're working on it. I'm working on it. It's a slow process. You can't, that's one thing. I'm a bad person about being impatient. Thinking, though food plot, I should have 3 5-year-old deer out here now. You know what I mean?
The first year you put food plot,
Yeah.
didn't you?
Yeah. You think it'd just attract all the 5-year-olds in a 10-mile radius to that clover plot. No, that's not how that happens. The big thing's the habitat, too. You gotta have food and the habitat. If you only have one, I would pick habitat.
You gotta have a perfect mixture of all.
Yeah.
You gotta have a perfect storm to be having multiple booning crops.
I think you
deer.
gotta have a good storm to have one good deer.
Oh yeah, I'm just saying you'd have to have a perfect one to have multiple, like
Right.
like that farm in Illinois.
Right.
They'll all be ready.
But
to
that's what he does to that farm. He bought that farm to hunt specifically for hunting, and I'm sure he hired somebody, or he might have done it himself. I don't know.
One of them land management biologists to come out there
and come out there, do timber, work on the timber, burnings, food plots, screenings, all that. So it's a process. It's a process, and I wish I could just do it all in one day and have 3 mature deer to hunt every year. But that's not the case. But you need. Go ahead.
I'm getting really excited. Which I was saying with the turkey season.
I'm excited about
You should
what?
have a pretty good season this year.
I'm
You
not-
had a pretty good amount of deer last year on camera.
Decent deer.
Yeah.
Not just like, so, and I'm starting to get more excited about it because the closer it gets, me and Lando both we get excited. We go put our cameras out. We always put corn out together and check, our cameras, ones that we still
You
have.
need to get Bender out.
That's the, that we do need to.
By the way, he's not putting corn out right now.
No. No.
From March to August, you can't put corn out
No.
in Kentucky. For those that don't know,
But anyway, I'm starting to get really excited because I can't wait to get those first pictures of what those bucks are starting to look like.
Yeah. I'm ready because that's all I'm gonna do. That's what I'm gonna do Saturday.
they all look like does right now.
Yeah.
Maybe
Some of
little
them.
nubs.
No,
Yeah.
some of them are starting to
But come
get their bases.
June, July, and you start seeing them really bloom out, especially July.
There's just nothing like it.
I love it.
I'm ready for velvet. I'm ready to see them. Another thing, which we can continue the bait thing, is Tennessee has now passed a law for a permit for baiting.
Baiting permit.
$50 for residents, ridiculous to me. $100 for non. I can agree with the non.
Non-residents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the whole thing's stupid because it's nothing more than a money grab. I don't know how much Tennessee's tags are comparative to ours.
Do you
other
think they're
states?
doing it and they set it that price just for CWD?
Yeah.
And so less people
Yeah.
bait.
It's just a deterrent to try to get less people to bait.
But here's my thing too. If you already spend $100 a year in corn, what's $50 more for the permit?
Right.
Yeah. it's just one payment of $50 for the season.
Right. Crap. Fuck.
People will pay it, and people won't pay it and still put corn out.
Sorry. What I was gonna say. Dang, that was a good argument, and I was about to say it.
It sounds like you won the argument, PJ.
And
Oh
that's how
my
you do it.
god, I hate when that happens. It was about CWD. I think.
Don't even know.
Oh, that's gonna bother me now.
It was.
You don't even know what you're going to say now.
Oh, why did Tennessee even allow baiting to begin with if they want to deter?
Why get rid of it altogether?
Yeah. That's just stupid. Which I know what it is. It's a money grab. They know people want to do it
It's probably just a money grab. They'll probably just say it's
for this.
for CWD and
I bet it's
behind
not
it.
even for CWD. That's not.
whatever the reasoning they come out with, it'll be because of that. It's really just a money grab.
I want to say Tennessee's tags went up this year too, like 28% or something like that. So it sounds like it's just a money grab more than anything. Which is stupid.
Probably is.
I could understand a residence. All right, let's take this away. Let's take away the corn. Let's do a turkey stamp for $10, $20. Take away the baiting. That's stupid. Let's do a turkey stamp or a habitat stamp for $20 for residents and $7,500 for non. That sounds better.
Yeah, I'm gonna charge you $50 so you can put a bag of corn out.
Where's that money going?
In someone's pocket. Tennessee's pocket.
I don't know how their system is set up, like the Tennessee Fish and Wildlife, Hunting and Fish and Wildlife, whatever they are.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're operated under their own entity like Kentucky is, because some states are under like the farmers.
Well, it's like they tried to get that
For Kentucky.
last year.
Yeah.
Or whatever last.
I think it was last year.
It was last year.
Yeah. They wanted it to be underneath the umbrella of Department of Agriculture.
Yeah.
I don't think it was last year.
It was recently.
It
It was last.
24.
Yeah, it was 24
It was
beginning of last year because
Last year.
I was gone. You know.
It
Yeah,
was
so-
it was last November when we voted on it.
Yeah. But some states are like that.
I don't.
It was voted on. It wasn't.
Cause I was with y'all when y'all brought it up.
I think it was before turkey season. I would say it was this year.
No, it wasn't this year. It was last year.
Maybe it was last year.
It had to be like spring.
What did
last
we
year.
vote no on recently though? Oh, it was that was the CWD zones.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking about. It was last year, early
It
last
had
year.
to be because I remember.
I remember it because Hunting the Public put it in a video.
Yeah,
Voted no on.
Yeah, vote no on it.
yeah, and I was with
It
y'all.
might have been the region.
So it was either whenever I showed up that one day to work, I just hung out.
I mean, it was like April.
Okay, then I was here.
Yeah.
I knew it was either like because he said November, it was either when I was with y'all,
Because you didn't get hurt till June.
yeah, or it was before I got hurt.
Yeah.
I don't remember when we voted on it then.
I think it was like April. It was around turkey season. Might have been March or May. It was around
It was
turkey
one
season.
of those 3 months.
But some states are under the Department of Ag.
Or a department within the.
Yeah.
It's not its
It's
own
a
entity.
branch off.
Yeah, it's not its own entity.
I don't know how Tennessee is. Don't know that. But if that money is going towards, habitat and stuff, great. But let's not name it a bait.
Tax,
Yeah.
bait permit.
Yeah. Let's do a habitat permit or set this aside for habitat.
For their WMAs and public land and whatnot.
Exactly.
I wish Kentucky would do that.
A stamp or, yeah.
I think a stamp would be good for out-of-staters maybe not so much in-state, but the amount of out-of-staters that come in to hunt our velvet season.
Yeah.
Let's add a $20.
I'd charge them 100.
Well, our tags are already.
That's fine.
We don't get charged 100 whenever we go to South Dakota. There's $20.
That's South Dakota's problem.
You sound like you're just greedy.
I would
Or
still
you're
go to
just
South
trying
Dakota. I would still go to South Dakota and hunt. If I paid $100 and the hunting was good and the WMAs were good and there's a lot of deer there, I would still go there and hunt. Nobody's going to stop going unless it gets ridiculously out of price range. Our tags are still cheaper than Illinois and Indiana.
And Tennessee, right?
I don't know about Tennessee.
Ours is like 280.
No, it went up this year.
They're more than.
I want to say they're like 3 something now. I can't remember. Then, and I think Michigan has got it in their. And Michigan is not a bait state. So they're trying to pass baiting, and Michigan's already rough as it is
Michigan trying to pass baiting?
for a bait stamp or a bait permit.
Oh,
So which would then allow
baiting.
baiting. It hasn't passed yet there, and technically it just passed. It's still got to go through the Senate in Tennessee. No. Tennessee did pass it. I was thinking of the Illinois nuisance law, and that's another thing. Illinois is passing a nuisance law, and the whole thing with that is, and we've talked about this on podcasts. Illinois could be a Iowa if they change some laws and regulations.
Very much so.
But at the end of the day, they're not, and they're poorly managing their state, and before too long, they're going to be losing a lot of money from non-residents coming to that state, which is a big bag. And here's one thing that people don't realize. Each state, these big buck states, are getting a lot of money from hunters because they've got big bucks. It's not because of meat hunters. It's not because of there's a lot of deer there. There's big bucks. These states need to start managing for a better age class. We got second.
What? I'd say
Because-
their tag will probably go up after that.
Who's?
States that start prioritizing
Look,
age class deer.
I think things will start going down because they'll be more equivalent across the board. Because look at Iowa. They're a 6 straw. You gotta wait 6 years. It's because there's no other state like it. But if you across the board, Kentucky, Indiana, Illinois, Ohio,
Kentucky's up in like the top 10 best.
Kansas, all these other states, and start prioritizing managing the age class versus let's just kill as many deer as possible. Because that will come when you manage age class. I want to clear this up a little bit. So what I mean, they need to work on the age class. It's going to benefit everybody. There's no way it won't. People aren't going to like it at first, but at the end of the day, there's going to be more deer as far as bucks goes. There's going to be fewer does, which in the perfect world, that's what everybody wants. The agencies, the insurance agencies, your Fish and Wildlife, all of them want a lower amount of deer because we've got too many deer. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So if you start pointing at let's hunt for more mature deer, so that means harvesting older bucks. okay, yeah, you're going to let a few bucks walk, but at the same time, you still have to do your management on does.
So what's that look like? Do you have to? Do the states have to come up with these laws that, in order for you to receive your buck tag, you have to kill at least a doe first and go to a check-in station and get that checked in, and to address the age class bucks, would you have to make a law saying you have to at least kill a deer with a 12-inch inside spread, or a 14-inch side spread, or a 16-inch side spread?
I think you need to clarify it. Must be.
See, that's where you run
the
into.
Because you can look at a deer like, okay, so
No, the antler thing is the problem is that because nobody's getting, we're all too dumb to age class a deer on the hoof.
Yeah, and
So-
it's gonna be too late by the time you age class a deer by the jaw. So
Yeah. So I saw one where it has to be 15-inch main beams or a 12-inch inseam. So a 12-inch, and that means it's going to be right at its ears
Ears.
or wide.
Yeah.
Or I can't remember what PA's is. PA's, Pennsylvania's is
do they have regulations?
a great, yeah, they have an antler restriction, and it needs to be looked into by a lot of states. And I want to say they also have a point restriction as well, but I can't remember. I'm not going to speak on their behalf. But the problem is you get your junkie deer to keep passing through, so like your 6 points or your,
So what happens if you have like a junky 3-point buck?
yeah,
That's
no.
6, 7 years old. What do? Just let you can't shoot it?
Right. So that's where the 15-inch main beam comes from.
Yeah.
Okay.
So spread, as long as you
Okay.
got a certain amount of
Main
length of your
Yeah, that
main
skipped over
beam.
my head.
And there's only a few. There might be a handful of circumstances where a buck doesn't have a 15-inch main beam. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to let probably 90% of your, 80% of your 2-year-olds walk. You know what I mean? So that puts us at 3. Well, if you can get deer to 3, you're going to have a high likelihood of getting some deer to 4 and 5. But
At least a higher chance.
yeah, and at the end of the day, everybody's going to be happy. There's going to be a few people ticked off because they have to pass a 1 and 2-year-old deer.
Yeah.
But it's going to benefit if it was every state took that into effect, it would benefit everybody as far as access and hunting pressure on public lands, because people from Tennessee and Alabama and Georgia aren't having to come up here to kill big deer, or aren't having to travel to Iowa.
Or they're
kill
not
big
killing.
deer.
They're not coming and killing the first 2-year-old.
Yeah,
The guys from Florida ain't coming to kill a 110-inch deer. It's big back where they come from, you know. That's letting them pass.
and I'm not trying to like add laws and regulations to the books. I hate the thought of having to do that. But if you don't regulate, then you're not going to have a resource. And the whole point of all of this is we come from an era of not shooting does because,
Everyone thinks
Yeah,
the does bring the bucks in.
yeah, that and people are used to, longer ago, 15, 20 years ago, or heck, yeah, about 15.
How many deer did you shoot today?
Yeah, it was based off of how many deer you saw, and a lot of the times you didn't see a lot of deer. And I still base a hunt off of that, but at the same time I still try to base my hunt off how many bucks I seen and how many of those are 2 and 3-year-old deer. So, and I'm not saying everybody should antler hunt. That's not the point here. The point here is getting the deer to a management of, an older class. You should want the deer to be an older class. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's just more of a respect thing for that animal, for me.
Unless I'm hunting for if I want like first day, I'm like I need me some more deer meat because you know how I am with deer meat. We done had a talk.
Right.
Yes, we
I'm gonna kill me a younger doe, not like a fawn, but you know a 2-year-old doe.
steal the spots on.
No,
I like
I'm not gonna
taste
do
the
that.
best.
I'm not gonna do that. People say, oh yeah, those taste the best. I'm not gonna do that. But a 2-year-old doe, if I can get a 2-year-old doe, she's gonna be smaller, you know, not an any doe.
Right.
I'm gonna kill her, and then from there on, it's gonna be either doe population, or I'll hunt for me a good sized buck. But
Right.
other than that, I don't see why not try to let your deer age. Why would you want to kill a basket rack? Why would you want to kill a spike? Unless
I
it's
think the
your
only
10-year-old
I
kid's
think that
first
yeah,
buck.
that's what I was about to say. I think the only exception is your youth.
Yes. And
Well,
that's,
it's a natural thing to work up to. For me specifically,
oh yeah.
you
Look
started
at the deer
out.
I've killed.
My first deer, I killed a doe. Ecstatic. After that, I wanted to kill a buck. I killed a buck. After that, it was I killed a couple of bucks, and it's like, okay, I want to kill a bigger buck. Well, the only way you can do that is by letting them walk. And I'm still kind of in that natural progression right now to get to that point. And I'm to that point now where it's like, okay, this is hard. And I'm not, sitting here whining and crying that this is too hard. But there should be an even playground across the board of 1, 2, 3, 4, some 5-year-olds. That would be great. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Not 1 and 2-year-olds, few 3-year-olds. But like I said, it would help states all the way across the board between pressure and out-of-state tags. You don't have as many people coming in to hunt this state because they have a state that's good as well. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, it'll help the population because if you do your correct management, you have to harvest the correct amount of does on your farm to hold these bucks. Which, like I said, we're coming from this older generation that was against shooting does, and we're finally, I'm finally getting to the point in his head that we've got all these does, but now what?
All your bucks have been pushed out.
It's like, we seen 50 deer, but they were all does.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't want to see does. If I had a perfect set, my perfect set would be seeing 3, 4, and 5, and 6-year-old deer, and seeing like 4 or 5 of them.
Yeah, big bachelor group.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not 50 does. A perfect set would be you see a couple of does, and you got a few, younger class deer coming up, and then you got your older class deer.
About where Landon and I got the farm.
Now, it's a perfect circle. That's how the circle's supposed to be. But a lot of these states aren't pushing for that. They just want you to kill the deer. They want you to kill as many deer because insurance agencies and all this and other kind of crap. And I'll listen. Go ahead.
It all falls back from no one killing does.
Yeah.
If you would have to, if they would bring back check stations and made you kill a doe before you got your buck tag, it would solve
A lot
of the population issue for these insurance agencies and the state and whatnot.
Yeah, and then they wouldn't be passing stupid laws to get people to kill more deer, thus
Yeah.
affecting the age class whenever they start passing stupid laws.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
They've never changed I mean, they might have years and years ago, but like recent years, they've changed the amount of does you can kill. You can still only kill 1 buck. I mean, so that just tells you that we have a abundance of does compared to bucks.
Yep. And that's still ingrained in everybody's head. And a lot of people said that we don't need to kill does because that's what brings the bucks in, or that's what produces bucks. And I'll agree to an extent.
But what do the does do after they have
What
buck?
point do you have to start managing your does because you only have so much food on your farm that can support
And bedding.
and bedding to support a certain amount of deer.
And see, that's a family of does. The question is, how many families of does do you have?
Yeah. See, this is the biggest group of doe picture that I got.
How many acres is that?
386 acres.
What was 6 of them in that picture?
Your best bet is to fly a drone up in the afternoon
See how we were picking in the fields.
in July and go through and count all your does. Because I guarantee you'll be surprised.
I guarantee we got a crap ton. But we do, most time, we usually kill, each of us usually kill probably a doe off the farm. Which probably ain't enough to
They
make sense.
say you should kill 2 does year one, but depending on your area. Now,
How many
that-
bucks do we have? We have.
no, I'm saying, if you kill a buck, you should take 2 does off your land. But that's depending on your area. This is for areas that are fairly well maintained. Our farm, I think we need to take 4 or 5 does
Per buck.
per buck.
But you got a crap ton of does.
Yeah.
Like an absolute crap ton.
Whereas, some places, I know some people out east, you don't need to kill does. You need to quit the doe killing over there because it's so sparse over there. So it's all dependent on your area.
Yeah.
That's the problem with, some of these regulations. But I will say the regulations of letting bucks grow is going to help. You know what I mean? It would be a little bit of a growing pain in the first year or 2. But after that, I don't think there will be a single complaint. Pennsylvania is probably doing the best job in all of these states, aside from Iowa. And they're turning out to have really good results. The biggest problem with them is they're not realizing they're managing for an older age class. They're still trying to manage the deer population.
Yeah.
And the biggest problem with today, blew my mind. She was a deer biologist on podcast talking about how she doesn't want people to look at does as like a non-trophy. And I get that because a doe is a doe and it's an animal,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
right? But it's never going to be the same as killing a buck.
No.
No.
I still respect it. I'm not going to just kill it and throw it in the ditch.
No, you're still gonna respect the animal
and take care of it, and I understand that I took a life.
Yeah.
That's like the 2 does that I killed this year. I understood it. I felt gratitude of taking it. I still got excited, and whenever I found her, it was like I have my own little moments with it. But it's never going to be the same as killing that target buck. Just never will.
No.
And I'm sorry, but it just won't. The only reason, and the reason is because one, you're fixated on that buck because you're obsessed with him. For one, you're trying to figure him out. You're trying to see what he's doing. He's unique. He's older than probably any buck you got on camera. So that's what makes him unique. Plus his antlers is what makes him. And the only way you can tell that it's that buck is by his antlers. You got a doe on camera, the only way you'll be able to tell it's a different doe from another doe is if she has some kind of body specific difference
Yep.
than another doe. You know what I mean? So your does and bucks will never be the same as far as uniqueness and trophy wise. And that's what some of these states don't, especially that, some of these biologists don't understand that. We love deer. I love deer. I'm trying to do my best in every way I can to habitat and feed deer. But at the end of the day, you've got to understand,
Does will never be the trophies that bucks are.
yeah. So you probably need to just go ahead and flip the script here now and let's start managing for an older age class, thus helps bucks and does. And let's start managing doe herds, because doe herds are what's the problem, not the buck herds.
Yep.
We got off of that a little bit. I just want to talk a little bit on Illinois and then we'll get off. I know we touched on it.
The
Nuisance.
nuisance.
Yeah. And then we'll call it a pod.
A pod.
So Illinois has passed, or trying to pass, a nuisance bill. Pretty much it's for farmers and landowners. I think it said 40 acres, wasn't it?
I was reading through it.
I
And
never,
Anyways,
never
it's a
did find-
nuisance bill where they can get more tags each year if you're a landowner or a farmer. And for crop damage,
property damage.
property damage, and they're using the excuse of CWD.
Yeah.
Which CWD has not been known to cross with humans, so it should not affect us. Number two, I don't know how the CWD is in Illinois, so I can't speak on that. I don't know how big of a problem
But
CWD is.
You were saying that the bill states that you have to provide
You have to
proof
provide proof
of damage of property.
of damage to property. Here's my number one question. How do they know it is deer that are doing the property damage?
Yeah.
You got coons. That is probably, I guarantee you, one of the number one
Yeah,
problems.
because they'll climb up the stalk of
And they break it
the
over.
corn and
unless
they'll
they
break
got,
it
unless
over.
they get on their phone, take an actual picture of the deer out there.
Yeah.
doing it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like a trail
If they
camera.
have photography, photo evidence.
That's the only way I think you should be able to do that. You have to have pictures of the deer. Now, deer do eat the corn, and I get that.
Yeah. And
But
they-
I guarantee you, coons are just as at fault as the deer are. And I guarantee you, I don't know, look up what's Indiana's coon season? Raccoon season. I guarantee you, they have a raccoon season. And there's a bag limit, or they might not have a bag limit, because we don't have a bag limit, do we?
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so.
We might have a possession limit. I don't know.
But that's what bothers me. It's like you point the blame at the deer.
But where's your evidence?
November 8th through January 31st.
There you go. That's
Hunting dates, trapping dates, same date.
that's stupid.
Hunting and trapping goes at the same time.
That
Say
is
November.
stupid.
November 8th to January 31st.
Nobody is going to be hunting or trapping coons in November to January in the middle of the deer season. That is your number one problem right there.
Not a long enough season.
That's Indiana, not Illinois.
Yeah. You said Indiana.
Did I
told,
say Indiana?
Yeah, you told me
Yeah.
to look up
Look
Indiana.
at Illinois.
I didn't know if he
That's
thought-
stupid.
I didn't know.
Indiana, shame on you. Y'all wonder why y'all have a poor turkey population.
This is, dude, look how Illinois put this together. It's like a,
like
Actually-
their website was dog crap.
Ask ChatGPT, whatever it is.
Chat GPT.
Yeah, GBT. That's stupid. November to January.
That might just be their trapping season. That might
So-
not be their regular.
fur bearer hunting, which counts raccoon. And hunting and trapping both go the same time, November 10th through February 15th for Illinois.
Ours is way different than
That is ridiculous. To February, you said?
15th.
That's stupid, man. Because here's the thing, coons are a nuisance. Number two, you're never going to eradicate them.
Yeah.
They're always going to be around. And they destroy crops. They kill turkey nests.
Guess when ours is?
that. Ours is October 1st to 28th, February 28th.
That's another complaint of mine too.
Why? Why is it not
I know, I agree.
like
Why is it not
spring
year
season
round?
or year round? Yeah,
But there's no reason we shouldn't have a year round raccoon season
and possum, young possum.
and possums.
Bag limits is, there's no limit.
But back to the whole Illinois thing. So they're trying to point the blame at deer, and they're also trying to use the chronic wasting disease as the problem. And they're trying to give farmers the availability to shoot all these does.
Which they gotta leave them lay, don't they? Or is that just
That's
here?
how
I don't know.
Kentucky is.
That's
That's
how
just
Kentucky
here.
is, which is stupid. That's wrong.
You're just letting, you can't touch it.
That's wrong.
Well, that's kind of a deterrent for these people that get. I think they ought to be donated to the
Yeah,
Kentucky.
I think, yeah.
Hunters for Hunger.
Hunters for Hungry.
I think you
instead
should
of
have
just
to
letting
take
them lie.
That's a waste.
you should have to take your deer, and it must be donated.
Yeah.
You can't keep it for yourself.
Even if, like, say you,
Well, that's
you
why
have to,
they- that's
every
why
deer
they-
you kill, call in, hey, just killed this, check in,
Yeah.
and you get like a certain check, like a confirmation number
Which I don't.
with that.
Which I don't know how that happened because you only get a certain amount of tags. You know,
Yeah.
My buddy, he don't have a certain amount of tags.
you're supposed to only get a certain amount of tags.
I don't think he has a certain amount of tags. Pretty sure he can just, with the farm.
I'm pretty sure
Shoot,
you're
I
supposed.
think you get like 20 tags or
You're
something.
still supposed to
Okay,
be
we're
able to
still
put a
cracking
tag.
on.
You're still supposed to be able to put a tag to a deer,
And it just, and
you just can't.
I don't
do
like the
anything
fact that you
with it.
can't do anything with it. You're just letting it
Well,
lay.
that's-
Yeah.
Well, that's to keep from people from just going out there and shooting and just to shoot them to.
But
you know.
I know, but I still think it's stupid. That you, like what y'all said, you should have to donate.
Yeah.
That would be a deterrent. All it is, because you don't want to mess with the deer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That would keep you from wanting to have to do that, because that means you would have to mess with it.
You'd have to take it
Take
to a butcher shop that
Takes-
was a,
you know what I'm
a
saying?
part of the hunger.
That would deter
Hunters
people
for
from
Hungry.
trying to apply for those tags. Because
Yeah.
then they would have to shoot the deer, go find it, take time out of their day, and then
And run to a butcher shop,
run to a shop.
deer processor.
That's a good idea, but I don't think you should. This all runs back to management of the age class.
It can all be settled if you had to kill a doe to get your buck tag. Or a
And,
lot of it would
or make doe seasons.
doe only seasons.
I mean, think about zone 1. If you had to kill 2 does in order to get a buck tag.
Or zone one though,
Zone one's
the highest population. Okay, so by the way, Kentucky is split up into zones. It's 1, 2, 3, and 4, correct?
Yep.
Yes.
1 being like the most lenient. It's unlimited does.
It's unlimited does.
1 bow tag.
Your deer permit is good for four deer, either 4 does or
1 buck.
1 buck
does.
and 3 does, and then you have to buy additional tags for additional does that you want to.
And you
harvest.
can kill as many does as you want.
Yeah.
Zone 2 is 1 buck, 3 does,
And then
or
from there-
4 does. And then after that, I don't know. Zone 3 and 4, I don't know. It might be 1 buck.
That's the east and west zones.
I know 4 is like 1 doe, 1 buck, ain't it?
Maybe, and I think they have like doe.
Or it might be one and one, or 1 and 2.
I don't even think it's that. I think it's like
It's
1 and 1.
It's something.
But we're not going to test for that. But if you change it to doe seasons in like zone 1 or zone 2, because I think zone 1 and zone 2 is on the verge of being a zone 1.
Yeah, some parts of it at least.
Yeah. And this is where herd management all comes together. You need to know what your herd is like. You should know, I need to take this amount of lot of does this year, or I don't need to kill this many does this year. I only need to take 1 or 2, or I don't need to take does at all. We had EHD this year. So I'm going to skip out on killing does and come back to it next year. And you should just do an evaluation every year.
Yeah.
And it's not hard.
Now, if you hunt
can-
at all during deer season, you can tell pretty well how your doe population is.
Yeah. If you're
deer
seeing,
population altogether.
If you can hunt, if you're, say you've been hunting gun like rut, and you see, you know, every day you hunt, you see 3 or 4 does, more than likely you probably need to take a few does.
well, it depends on how big that area you're hunting too. So like if you're hunting 5 acres and you see 4 does plus every day, you need to kill does. If you're hunting 200 acres and you only see 4 does and you're hunting over a field, 4 does is not much. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you need to take it upon the landscape you're hunting, how big of a space you're hunting. You know, if you've got trail cameras, that's a great way to tell. If you've got 3 or 4 trail cameras out and they're on corn piles, specifically Kentucky, you got them on corn piles, and in each corn pile you've got a family of 6 or 7 or 8 does, it's probably time to kill some does. I think what they recommend is a 1 buck to 2 does,
Ratio, yeah.
which is very hard to do. I lean towards that 1 to 3, maybe a 4. 4's
Pushing it.
the max. So if you go hunting for a week and you see 6 bucks and you see 23 does, it's pretty skewed there.
Yeah.
It's time to kill some does. But I think that's enough ranting about. I think that's such a long topic, and you could beat on that for a long time. And shame on Illinois for trying to point the excuse on chronic spacing disease. That ticks me off. Because they're just trying to find a reason.
That's
This was all...
I think that's just every state's go-to fallout.
Well, they don't... What ticks me off is they know nothing about chronic spacing disease.
There's not enough studies.
They don't know nothing about it. They know very little. So let's point the blame at that. And let's point the blame that deer are killing or eating all of my crops. Well, you've got a 3-month season of coons, and I guarantee you nobody coon hunts like they used to, because I know they don't here.
No,
And trapping.
hardly anyone traps.
So let's
anymore.
open up raccoon season year round and maybe offer a bounty. That'd be a good idea.
A bounty on raccoons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a bad idea. Just great idea right there.
I'd probably pick up raccoon hunting if I was gonna get a bounty of some sort.
$1 a piece.
Well, even if the
Dollar.
state be like, hey, state's gonna give away a 4-wheeler. Whoever kills the most raccoons,
Or biggest, man. Yeah.
or you kill so many raccoons, you'll get put in a drawing for this.
That's not a bad idea. That right there. One
Guns.
raccoon is one entry. You gotta pay $20 to get into
Oh
it.
yeah.
To get
That'd be a
into it.
pretty big pool of entries at that point.
There you go. We just come up with a great idea. Now we just gotta come up with a 4-wheeler.
We should be state representatives.
Vote us in 2028.
I don't even know. Well, we'll wrap her up today. It's been long enough, I think. So.
Yeah.
Oh, guess what? I forgot.
Yeah,
Oh.
I was going to remind
Yeah.
you, like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe. I need it. God.
We need to put a sign back there.
Oh,
Like and
I'm
subscribe.
gonna hide you like a little piece of paper right here for everything you
Yeah.
can say. You just
At the very beginning, I'm gonna put you in charge of saying that from now on.
Yeah. You and your ADHD.
You'll remember that. I won't. Like and subscribe if you already made it this far.
Appreciate y'all being here.
Yeah.
and we got a full like 15, 20 views on last.
No, we're at like 30 something.
Oh, there we go.
Thank you.
Hit it big.
Hey, we are
the
now-
big leagues.
We're now on Spotify as well, so
Check us out there.
check us out on Spotify. It'll be
Are we on Apple Podcasts?
no, we are
No,
not.
we
Okay.
are on
I didn't check
Spotify and
Spotify.
YouTube.
All right.
Hunting Cast is what it'll be under on Spotify. Check us out. We might be having a guest on, this is episode 4, so maybe 5. I have to talk to him and we got to figure out how we're going to do that. But we'll figure that out. We'll see y'all next time.
Peace.